All right, good evening, everybody. Now I'm back in the camera. Here we go. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Free. We're so glad you're with us this evening. I'm Ryan. I'm the pastor here. This is a community for addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees. If you're wondering what the heck a spiritual refugee is, well, it's the ones who feel like they've been kicked around by religion. They've been told somewhere along the way that they don't belong, and here we say, you belong. We call this place Free, this community, these people, because all the things that set us free, grace, compassion, love, forgiveness, these are the things that are so freely given by God. So welcome to Free. If you're with us tonight, it is not by accident. So stick around, tune in. I can't wait for y'all to be part of When Pigs Fly Part 3 and 4. Tonight's Part 3. We have Jeff Johnson in the house. It's going to be powerful. Woo-woo! I'll say more about Jeff in just a moment. But before we get there, did I say everything I was supposed to? I think I said everything I needed to say. I want to throw it over to my boy Lou, who's going to give some announcements, tell you what's happening here in this community. Take it away, Lou.
Good evening, everybody, and it's good to be back. I've been gone for a while. In case some of you guys don't know, I've been coaching, and so I've been all over the country coaching my girls in softball. So it's amazing to be back here tonight, and they got desperate enough to ask me to do announcements. So you get to see my beautiful face on the screen tonight, and so
We love that.
I just want to let you guys know, in case some of you haven't heard, we are reopened for 12-step meetings. We have got the floor taped out, and where the seating is happening, and so we're open for the 9:30, I believe, the noon on Sundays, and the 5 p.m. Saturday evening. And so we got social distancing practices in place, and so we are open again for 12-step meetings. And so what we have here is the app. I'm talking about the app. In case you guys haven't downloaded it yet, right now or after the service, go in and download the app.
How much is it?
It's free.
There you go.
The app is free. Yep, free. And guess what? The wagon is on there, and yes, they all fall off. I just had to get that one in there. But so the app is launched. The good thing about the app is that you can go and you can, you create an account for Subsplash, and you can go on and you can donate directly from the app. You can also look at catch all the previous services that Ryan has done on Saturday night. There's a prayer request form on there, and it's got all the happenings that are going on here at Free. Even though we're on this virtual time, we are still doing a lot here. Speaking of what's happening, is Free Gives on Wednesday, July 22nd. It is the socks and undies going to Ready to Work, and again, we're gonna have Repeachies. I got it. I nailed it. That was my biggest fear of screwing that name up.
Stay on. What is Repeachies?
Repeachies is gelato and Italian ice, and we are going to do it the same way. We're going to have mass chaos in the parking lot, and we're not going to know which way to direct you, but you guys pull around, come in, get your order of gelato and Italian ice, and open the trunk or the doors, and we'll serve you, and we will get all your socks and undies, and they're going to go to Ready to Work. And I think it's going to be another great evening, and it's no better time to have gelato and Italian ice when it is hot outside. And so other than that, it's a pleasure being back. It's a pleasure seeing all of you. I love you all, and I hope you guys have a wonderful night. And back to Ryan.
Thank you, Lou. Yes, y'all, it's been like 100 degrees here, and that's not an exaggeration. It's been like 100 degrees, so perfect time for gelato and Italian ice. Bring the socks and undies, new ones, please, as Lou said, new ones. It's going to our friends over at the Ready to Work program, and they are friends of Free, and they are in need, and so it's our way to be part of the bigger community. All right, y'all, I'm glad you're here tonight. We're going to kick things off with a bit of celebrations, because it's how we start things in this community. It's how we begin, by celebrating together. We know each week in your lives hard things happen. We know there's hard things happening in this community. We know relapse is on the rise, and mental health is a problem, and COVID is existing, and there's injustices. We know all that. We don't skip it. We save it for the end when we do heartaches. But now we celebrate together. So you will have 3 minutes to give us your celebrations in the comments. Let this community in on your celebrations. God joins with us in these celebrations because we lift them all up to God. and we believe God celebrates with us and hears the celebrations. So it could be sobriety anniversaries, or maybe you've got new babies being born, or new jobs happening, or the new thing in life that you want to celebrate. Get it in the comments, get vulnerable, let the community in so we can all celebrate together. You have 3 minutes, so start now.
See the light of a new day dawning. Feel the love from a beating heart. You catch a ride to the top of the world. This is where we start. No, we can't make it last forever. We gotta use all the time we have. And you know that we'll never say never if we ever get the chance. And it's good to be alive. It's good to be alive. This feeling's running high. Life is calling and the world is beautiful. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. There's a winding road we're choosing, looking for a brand new day. And up ahead there's an open door, now we'll find our way. There's a hope for a new tomorrow. We can dream that we'll rise above. Let me be your guide to follow, and you'll always feel the love. And it's good to be alive. It's good to be alive. This feeling's running high. Life is calling and the world is beautiful. Na 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 na. Seize the moment and stop right now. Play the music and live. Well, it's good to be alive. So good to be alive. This feeling's running high. Oh, life is calling.
Welcome back, everybody. Man, we say it every week. We love reading your comments and celebrating with you. And so many celebrations this week. That's good news. That's awesome news. Drew, do you want to throw some on the screen for us? Jenny, should I start or Tammy start?
You are.
I'll start. Let me start this one from Jenny Johnson, Jeff's spouse. Jeff, your wife's in the house tonight. She's watching. Jenny says, my husband's been doing so amazing at his work, taking care of us every day. Both babies are crawling,
Aw.
smiling, and happy. God is good. Thank you for sharing that, Jenny. Y'all are going to meet Jenny's Jeff here in just a moment when he shares some of his story, and it's powerful. Thank you for sharing that with us, Jenny.
Yeah, good to hear from Jenny. And what, the babies are 9 months, I understand?
Yeah, 9 months.
That's
Twins.
awesome. Aw, good stuff. Hey, Saman. Saman's in the house too, somewhere around here. I have Romy for the week, and we are going camping. So excited to spend all this time with her. That's special. That'll be fun.
Oh, here in Colorado, so many people camp. It's awesome. All right, Drew, do we have another? Yes, Pamela says, I heard from my son for the first time in over a month, and a day in the mountains cures almost anything. Yes, Pamela, thank you for sharing that with us. We've been praying for Sam on the daily. So glad you heard from him this week. That's good news.
Yeah, good to hear that. Steve Epps, celebrating finding sober living and finding free this week with Kelly Epps. It was awesome meeting you guys, and so glad that you stopped in, and nice to meet you guys. So hope to see you again soon, hopefully next Saturday.
Yeah, Stephen Kelly, welcome to Free. It was also good meeting you today at the meeting, and
That's live.
welcome to
That's a
Free.
good
We're
thing to
glad you're
mention.
here.
That's live again.
Yeah,
The meeting.
our 5 o'clock meeting, Live the Miracle. It's for all A's. It's for anybody interested in the 12 steps. It's back on now, 5 o'clock. We do the social distance thing, the mask wearing, the 6 feet apart. So come be a part of that if you're looking for a meeting. Justin says, no matter how hard days get, I don't need a drink. Over 4.5 years and counting. Thank you, God. Way to go, Justin. Keep doing that, brother. Good news, man. Congratulations.
I like your little image, Justin. Your little monkey with the little headphones. From Sue, it's great to be alive. Yes, it is. Great to have. She was just saying how much she liked that song while it was playing. So, get to have a great end of my day to a day that didn't start off too well. Saw some of my favorite peeps. Yes, and I'm aware of who those people are. So we're grateful for you too, Sue. Taking care of those babies.
Yeah. Danny Colella. So y'all may have noticed, Drew and Tammy are running things in the back. And Danny is off camping, spending some quality time with his family. Y'all are camping fools. So glad y'all are having quality time. Congratulations. Thank you for sharing that with us, Danny.
Yeah, good stuff. We missed you, but we're glad you're hanging out. And tell that Shirley girl hi. From Tammy Lord, this coming weekend I get to celebrate my aunt and uncle's 50th wedding anniversary.
How cool
Love
is
it.
that?
Yeah. I would love to know how you guys are celebrating that. It's all different these days, but very cool.
All right, one more.
One more.
One more. I'll take one more. Michelle says, my daughter graduated from college. Congratulations, Michelle's daughter. Good news. Congratulations.
good.
Go celebrate. Glad you graduated. Thank you for
Awesome.
sharing that with us. All right, guys, so good to celebrate with you this evening. You can keep the celebrations coming in. Just because we stopped this moment doesn't mean you can't still celebrate. But we want to transition a bit. We're in the 3rd week of When Pigs Fly. We're looking at miracles. Do you believe in miracles? Jeff Johnson, who I mentioned, he's here tonight. Y'all, he has this really powerful story. He's been here before. I've got a different set of questions for Jeff this time. And I'll say more about his story, but it's on our, if you are on our free Facebook page, we posted about it the last couple of days. But we have a little video to start with, a little 45-second video to get us into the swing of things. When pigs fly, do you believe in miracles? So I want to begin by reading just a paragraph from Glennon Doyle's book called Carry On Warrior, a book that I highly recommend. She writes, when I got sober, I woke up and stepped out into real life for the first time. I was 26 years old, but because I'd been hiding since I was 8, I saw the world through the eyes of a child. I was awed and afraid, my heart open to the world's beauty and brutality. I looked closely at humanity and all of its brokenness and decided to forgive it and myself. Since brokenness is the way of folks, the only way to live peacefully is to forgive everyone constantly, including yourself. I learned I was worthy and capable of being another human being's constant. And this confidence helped me widen my circles. I became an active part of my community, and I reached out to God, the ultimate circle, the one who holds us all together. I realized that these widening circles, accepting myself, my partner, my children, my community, and my faith, were the only layers of protection I needed. These circles were my life. I was at the center, naked and honest and sober and broken and perfectly imperfect. The more I opened my heart to the folks in my circles, the more convinced I became that life is equal parts brutal and beautiful, and or both. Life is brutiful. I love that reading. Brutiful. 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 Have you experienced this? Have you experienced this during this ongoing pandemic that we've been in for the last few months now? Brutiful. A couple of weeks ago, I was on the beach. We were watching sunsets. We were hanging out with family. We were paddleboarding with dolphins swimming all around us. And yet, just a couple of days ago, I visited a friend in hospice. I could be there as clergy, but other of his friends and even family couldn't be there because of COVID. My buddy Andrew passed away on Thursday morning. You see, pandemic or not, life is filled with brutal and beautiful. And I think we experience centering joy when we embrace this, embrace all of it. You see, brutiful means that there's joy in the world. But some of y'all are going to have to take a leap to experience it. For some of you, experiencing joy right now is like the moment when pigs fly. It will be a flat out miracle in your life. So here's what I want to do with y'all. All in the next 15 minutes or less. You can time me. I want to share with you 6 very brief observations on joy. Then I want to share a story about my friend Mildred. And then I want to explore some of the biblical voices on joy and why these voices resonate so deeply with our own experiences. Now, I know that we talked about joy back in March. It was actually the second week of the pandemic. But this evening, I want to peel back another layer. Are you ready? 6 observations on joy. Number 1, in the Greek, and remember the New Testament's written in Greek, joy is kairos, stemming from the Greek word charis, which means grace or gift or even kindness, which means joy has its roots in a word that means gift. Number 2, joy comes from the awareness that life is a gift and joy is a response to that gift. I told y'all we're going to go quick. 3, joy transcends circumstances. It comes from God's Spirit and it is woven into the very fabric of creation. And number 4, joy is always connected to a sense of gratitude. And the deepest experiences of joy are usually connected to people, relationships, and creation. Number 5, the opposite of joy isn't sadness, it's fear. And joy and fear are never found at the same party. And finally, number 6, joy is experienced in moments, usually ordinary, simple ones. And now it's y'all's turn. I want you to take the next few minutes or the remainder of the service, take a few minutes and what is joy to you? Fill in the blank. Joy is, what does joy look like for you? What words do you use to describe it? Well, what phrases do you use? How do you describe this thing called joy in your life? And let the community in on it. Let them know. Put it in the comments. What is joy to you? How do you describe it? What words do you use? Sorry, a little technical difficulty. Drew, you can actually go to the main screen. There we go. Whee, there we go. All right, y'all. Joy is what to you? Now, here's the thing about joy. Joy, the more you go looking for the big moments of joy, the less you find it. But the more open you are to God and to the world around you, the more joy you experience. And I don't know why that's true, but I just know it to be true. Now, a couple of years ago, I was in Rusinga Island, Kenya, in Africa. And I went every year for several years with a nonprofit organization. And during the few years that I went, we were doing women's empowerment work through the lens of storytelling, knowing your story, sharing your story, hearing the stories of others, and ultimately asking the question of what it means to live a better story in the community. And see, we had these different story groups meeting throughout the island and throughout the week. And I should tell you, Rusinga Island is one of the very poorest places in the world. It has one of the highest HIV/AIDS rates in the world. and malaria is still deadly for many of the people who live there, especially children. I met Mildred on one of my trips to Rasinga Island, and we had these different groups going, and Mildred, she was one of the participants in my group, and early on, Mildred shared with the group, shared her story. And see, she had a rough childhood, abandonment, abuse of every kind, an alcoholic father. Mildred shared with us that she was also living with this disease and that she was very ill. And it came with lots of shame. She couldn't even publicly name this disease. And on the last day of our group, we encouraged each person to dream big, to not be held back by fear or the limitations of money or time or energy, but to just dream big about what you would do in the world. And yes, I realized we were in one of the most poverty-stricken places in the world, a people who knew despair at every turn. They had a full day to dream, and then they were invited back the next day to get vulnerable and share it with the group. And we went around the circle. And when it came to Mildred, she said, "What if I owned some land one day and built an orphanage?" It was a quiet, powerful moment. It was our last day there, and as I was leaving, I gave Mildred a big hug, and I said, "I'll be back next year, and I can't wait to see you." And Mildred got quiet. It was a long pause, and she looked down and said, "Pastor, I may not be here next year." I said, what are you talking about? What do you mean? Where are you going?" She said, "Remember, I told you I was very ill." And y'all, she was a young lady, late 20s, early 30s. And I didn't know if Mildred was just being pessimistic or hopeless, so I found one of the village community leaders, and I asked if this was true, and he said, "Yeah, she's very ill." So I left with this kind of heaviness, this kind of sinking feeling. Now fast forward 1 year. We were back in Rusinga Island. It was my last trip there, and on this particular day, it was a hard day. It was a defeating day. It was one of those days where you begin asking all the wrong questions. Like, what are we doing here? Are we even making a difference? Does this work even matter in the world? And on this particular afternoon, we arrived at a location different from the location we were supposed to arrive. And I step out of the vehicle, and I see Mildred in the distance. Now, she was expecting to see us because she knew we were on the island. Get out of the vehicle, I give Mildred a great big hug, and I tell her how good it is to see her. And she has this smile that is plastered on her face. And she hands me this brown paper bag. And she said, "Here, these are gifts for your 2 little girls." She remembered that we had 2 little girls. And in this brown paper bag were 2 necklaces, 2 bracelets, and 2 pair of shell earrings. And get this, y'all. She says, "Pastor, I'm doing it." And I said, "Mildred, that's great, but what exactly are you doing?" She says, "Those necklaces, those bracelets, I made those." And all of a sudden, that gift becomes a bit bigger, doesn't it? A bit more meaningful. And she says, "Not only do I make jewelry, but I also make dresses like this one." And y'all, she was wearing the most beautiful red dress in all of Africa. And she says, "I make this stuff, then I bring it to the marketplace and I sell it." And the smile on her face gets even bigger, as big as you can imagine. And she looks at me and she says, "Don't you remember? I am going to build an orphanage." You see, joy was all over her being. You get the sense that she knows every breath, every moment is a gift. And joy was all over me because I was able to be the recipient of such a marvelous gift. Joy was the response to that gift. You see, the truest form of joy happens when you get to say those words under your breath, "Oh my goodness, this is life, and I actually get to participate." Now, here's the other thing about joy. Joy transcends circumstances. There's this beautiful letter in the New Testament. It's called 1 Thessalonians. And the Apostle Paul is writing this letter to this church in the first century in Thessalonica, and he begins his letter. And these people, y'all, the people in Thessalonica, They were undergoing tremendous suffering and persecution and hardship. And here's how Paul opens his letter to the Thessalonians. For in spite of persecution, you received the word with joy inspired by the Holy Spirit. Now, in other words, he says to them, I know what you're going through. I know what's happening in your life, but you still receive the good news with a great sense of joy. And that, my friends, comes from something holy, God's Spirit. And there's this other letter in the New Testament right after 1 Thessalonians. It's a letter called James. And he opens his letter this way. Check it out. He says, my brothers and sisters, whatever you face trials of any kind, consider it nothing but joy. Strange, isn't it? But have you ever encountered people like this? They could be going through suffering and something really hard, but they still carry this very real, authentic joy. And it's not the kind that's rooted in denial with a plastered on mask where we try to convince other people that everything's fine. But it's the kind of joy that's rooted in the sense of staying present. And when these people talk about God and gratitude, it has some depth to it, you know what I mean? And they talk about it in the most meaningful ways. You know, I was talking to a guy just the other morning, and he was sharing with me all the things he's going through in life right now. And he starts to tear up. And he says, but I'm here. But I'm here. And if you've ever been there, you know what a gift it is to be here. And sometimes that is the purest form of joy, to say those words, to pray those words, but I'm here. God, I'm here. You know, there's a great psalm. And remember, the Psalms are a collection of poems and prayers in the Old Testament. Right in the middle of the Bible. If you open the Bible, it's right in the middle. And this psalm describes joy as being everywhere. In fact, many of the Psalms do this. Joy is everywhere. It's woven into the fabric of creation. In this psalm, he's talking about the beauty of creation, and he says right in the middle of the psalm, it's Psalm 65, right in the middle, he says, those who dwell on the far edge acts. You make the gateways of morning and evening shout for joy. Where's joy? Joy is everywhere. Scattered throughout creation. But we have to start with what we have, not with what we don't have. Because here's the thing, fear loves to steal joy. Fear always lives in the future. Fear loves to come along and tell you everything you're not, everything you aren't capable of. Fear loves to keep you in shame, but joy is rooted in the present. It says this life, this moment matters, this breath is a gift. It's why it's so often connected to people and relationships. The things that matter most in this world. What is joy? It's the response to that gift. It's why it's so often connected to creation. Things like nature and mountains and oceans. What is joy? It's the response to the gift. It's why joy is so often connected to simple moments. You know, I don't know about y'all, but for us, the 4th of July didn't exactly come in with a bang this year. I didn't talk to many folks who had big plans. In fact, most things were canceled. Things are dry here. Literally, we haven't had any rain, so things are dry here. COVID is still very much alive. So what happened is most people didn't travel. They stayed home. And at our home, this beautiful thing happened. We sat in our driveway that evening, and community started gathering organically. More people on our street than I've ever seen before. And you know what we did? Yeah, we shot off fireworks. We met new people. We laughed. It was like real community. And some of y'all know Highlands Ranch, where we live, it's like 98.9% white. In the gathering, there were black folks and brown folks, and there were white folks and kids and old people. It was like real community. And for a minute there, you would have swore Highlands Ranch was a multicultural suburb. Both Tammy and I went to bed late that night, but with a simple and overwhelming sense of gratitude. See, what is joy? It's the response to the gift that you get to experience. My brothers and sisters, are you lacking in joy? Are you in a joy slump? Does the whole thing just seem distant? Start with what you have. Start with all the gifts God has given you. The relationships you do have. The breath you are taking. Pray for a new awareness. You're in a joy slump? Consider ways that you might invest in other people. And I'll close with this. There's another letter after James, and it's called 1 John. And I realize I'm putting a bunch of letters on y'all, but I want you to see how these writers in the New Testament, how they start their letters. And there's a reason for this. It's called 1 John, and he begins his letter by saying this: we are writing you so that our joy may be complete. What? I mean, that seems kind of selfish, doesn't it? I'm doing something good for you because something good comes back to me? Yeah. In other words, they're saying, we found this God secret in life. We're writing you, we're reaching out to you, we're investing in you so that our joy is complete. This has to do with our own wholeness, our own health, our own joy. Find people to invest in. Find people to pour your life into. Find ways to give back with other people. Find ways to make life about other people, not just you. And you might just have that experience, as the psalmist said, the gateways are opening, morning and evening, shouting for joy. You know, I wondered why early in my recovery, after I would thank my sponsor for meeting with me, I'd say thank you. And he would always say, every time, he said, it helps me as much as it helps you. I didn't understand it then, but I think I understand it now. He was pouring into me. I think it had something to do with his joy being made whole. My brothers and sisters, the world needs you. When you reach out to people, when you invest in people, your joy is being made complete. All right, y'all, I want you to meet my friend and brother, Jeff Johnson. We'll play a little video to introduce him. By the way, 7 News, Denver 7 News did a great story on him. I posted it on our Facebook page this morning. You should go and watch that story. It's about a 4-minute story. It might make you cry, so get a Kleenex out. Jeff, he was sentenced to, when he was 17 years old. Let me pull up my notes here so I don't get any of the details wrong. He was 17 years old, and it was 1994, and he was sentenced. It was March of 1994, convicted of first-degree murder, and he was sentenced to 2 life sentences without the possibility of parole, plus 248 years. He was sentenced for a crime he did not commit. His co-defendant came forward after the 24 and a half years he spent in prison and fessed up to the crime, and Jeff was released in November of 2018. 24 and a half years of his life spent behind bars, in captivity, you might say, for a crime he didn't commit. So I want him to share with us some about what does joy look like for you today. He's been out about 1.5 years. What does joy look like today? All right, y'all, welcome Jeff Johnson. All right, welcome back, everybody. So, Jeff, welcome, my man. I'm glad you're here again.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate being back here.
Yeah, dude. So here's the thing, man. You can go deeper into the backstory of what happened. I know I just gave the really high level details about the crime you didn't commit, and then being getting released, getting that conviction overturned. But you know, you all should know this. When I called Jeff a while back and I said, hey, we're doing this series on miracles and when pigs fly, I said, I want to talk about joy and miracles, and you just popped in my mind, and I said, do you have anything to say on that subject? And he said, yeah, my whole life is a miracle. So Jeff, I don't know, man, maybe we start there. What's and fill in any blanks that I left out of the conviction, being in prison, what that might have been like, but the miracle of your whole life being a miracle.
Sure. So, yeah, as he was kind of talking about, I was convicted of first-degree murder when I was 17 years old. I was sentenced, did 24 and a half years in prison. Had a co-defendant I didn't know. In 2006, he ended up changing his life over to God, and he ended up coming forward, confessing to the crime. So through physical evidence, DNA evidence, as well as the confession and other evidence, it just ended up collaborating everything. I was released in November 2nd, 2018. But yeah, absolutely, my entire life is joy. I mean, I went from darkness and no hope, no chance to ever see the streets again. All my appeals were pretty much done. I was pretty much set with this one last thing, or clemency, and this one last thing, it turned my life around, and here I am.
So, Jeff, when we were meeting, you told me that one of your favorite passages comes from the Old Testament, the prophet Jeremiah. Jeremiah 29, 11 through 14. When many people mention that scripture, they're talking about the purpose passage. I know you have a purpose for my life, but you went to an interesting place because right after that verse, it talks about captivity. So tell us, share with these people what that passage, and maybe tell them what it says if you have part of it memorized. Tell them what it says, and tell us why.
So Jeremiah 29, 11 through 14. It starts with, I know the plans I have for you. And I kind of want to go into how that passage even came to me. So October 19th of 2017, I actually went to court, and I was sent back to DOC because my district attorney at the time was running for governor, so he didn't really want to deal with the political situation of my case. And when I came back, we had Chaplain Carey there, and the sermon that night was on Jeremiah 29, 11 through 14. Here I was just being told once again that I was going to die in prison. And I just remember that, he was talking about God, and I know the plans I have for you, my plans aren't to harm you, but it's to bring you prosper and to bring you out of captivity. And I just remember that night, because I was so sad, I was heartbroken again. I just knew, this was just going to be another setback. I was going to die in prison. And I just knew at that night, like once everything just kind of resonated within me, I just knew that I was going to be released from captivity, and God was going to provide a life for me that just brings me joy. I mean, every little aspect of my life is just, I've just been blessed so much. A lot of people say, well, how are you not bitter and resentful for everything that you've gone through? And I just don't have time for it, honestly. Life to me is just there's so many blessings, and I know if I focus on all the negatives that have happened in my life, or the negatives that I want to see going on around me, it's not going to allow me to really experience God and experience all the joy and the blessings and everything that He's provided for me.
So Jeff, can I go back to Jeremiah for just a moment?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because I found this interesting when you were talking about Jeremiah. You also said y'all named one of your babies. They just had twins 9 months ago. Jeremiah and Jenna Lynn, right?
Yep.
In fact, when you were here last time, we had to rush you out of here because your wife was 9 months pregnant.
Yeah.
She had to go home and go to bed. Um, you named your little boy Jeremiah. Tell us what it was like, being in prison for so long, but then coming out, and within your first year of being out, you're holding two little babies, your own babies. What was that moment like for you?
Well, that moment was absolutely amazing. But there's actually a little bit more to that story. So when I went to court, it was on October 19th, 2017, when I got sent back, being told I wasn't going to get another hearing. My kids were born on October 19th. So their birthday is exactly 1 year, our 2018. So their birthday is exactly 1 year from the date that I went to my court. So I mean, that's why it made it so powerful just to give him that name. I mean, I love that verse, but it's also one to me that just brings such strength, and just being so grateful for him. And I'm sorry I got stuck, brother.
What was it like holding babies for the first time?
Honestly, I was scared.
Natural for a new dad.
Yeah, I had only been around my niece Janelle. That was the only baby I'd ever held in my life. But honestly, if it wasn't for the rock of our family, my wife Jenny, I don't know if I could have done it. Like she's just a blessing. I mean, she's just to have her in my life and to be there. And when she passed my son over to me. Yeah, it was just it was a feeling and an experience that I never felt before. I honestly didn't know that I could love that deep. But then she passed me my little girl, and every time, even now, every time my little girl sees me today, like she just lights up. And yeah, it's just so weird coming from that environment where you're constantly wearing this mask of basically being who you have to be in the situation that you're in, to where you see your kids and you're able to embrace them, and it's like you can't wear a mask. They don't allow it.
By the way, tell us, your wife Jenny, what does she do in life?
So my wife is actually a drug addiction mental health counselor. Um, she's an amazing one. I know I can't wait for her to get her own practice, and I mean, right now, like, she's working. Well, she's a stay-at-home mom. For the most part, I mean, she stays up all night with the kids. I go to work at 6 in the morning. I get back home at 7 at night. But she stays with the kids all day. She stays up with them at nighttime, and then she also goes to work doing drug and alcohol classes, and running groups and people, like individual sessions on Saturday mornings as well as Monday nights. So I don't really know when she's sleeping.
Moms said they have supernatural powers. We'll talk about that later.
She's got something.
They all do. I'm telling you, it's wild. And Jenny, I didn't get to give you a formal invitation yet because I was going to do that tonight when I saw you in person. But I would love for you to come here to Free and share some of your story, because I bet you have a really unique perspective on this, and one that we could really learn from
She
your
accepts.
experience.
She accepts.
She accepts. Thank you, Jenny. Jeff just spoke for you, but I'll wait till I hear from you.
Yeah.
Send me a message. So, Jeff, you were also, I think, were you the youngest or the first juvenile in Colorado to be sentenced to life? Is
No.
that true?
No, I wasn't the first one to be sentenced. I was the first one to get out, though, under the bill.
Okay.
But there were some other juveniles that were sentenced before me, but they were sentenced to the 40-year life sentences. I believe I was the third one to get the life without parole.
Yeah. And by the way, if y'all want more details on that case, because I found it really fascinating when I first met Jeff, so I did what y'all would do. I started Googling it, and it's well documented. You could read Jeff's case and story. But Jeff, I'm just thinking about, again, and you hit on it, but sentenced to life, 2 life terms, plus 243 years. You're never going to see the outside world again. You serve 24 and a half years. You get out. How do you not have resentment or anger? How do you keep from going to the place of, oh my goodness, they took what was they took what wasn't theirs. My life for 20, the good years of my life, for 24 and a half years, I should have been doing life, and instead I'm in prison. And you said something really fascinating when we met the other day. He said, they had my body locked up, but not my mind. What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, if you allow prison to kind of consume you, because prison's a negative environment, you know, and it'll easily start consuming you. I did almost a decade and a half in solitary confinement because I had kind of given up hope in there at the beginning. I got involved in drugs. I got involved in gambling. I got involved in basically everything that plagues our system. You know, and I was in a really dark place, and I remember I was contemplating suicide. I was in Buena Vista's, they call it the dungeons. It's the old bars where you have like 5-foot walls that come off of your cell, so you can't see anybody. You can't see anybody except for when a guard walks past your cell. Other than that, there's absolutely nothing in front of you except for a brick wall. That's about 8 feet from your cell. And I remember I was in there contemplating suicide, and I was talking to my grandma that night on the phone, and I was just, you know, I was telling her I was just ready to I was done. And she told me the thing that actually changed my life, and she said, everybody got a life sentence, we're just going to do it in different places. You know, at first it didn't really hold a lot of meaning to me. You know, I think until you actually sit on it and digest it and let it marinate in there for a minute. But when it did, it just made me realize, like, I'm not going to allow this to be who, I'm not going to allow prison to define me. I'm not going to allow negative situations or whatever circumstances that I'm going through define who I am, define my character. And I was. I became that. You know, I became the person that earned a life sentence, even though I didn't. I didn't earn it from the beginning stages, but my actions inside of prison were allowing me to earn it. You know, and I was just in such a negative mind. I mean, I was bringing drugs into the facility. I was involved heavily in drugs. I destroyed a ton of my relationships with my families, manipulating to them, lying to them. And as the more I just started thinking about what my grandma said, I was like, you know, you kind of sit there and you're thinking, like, who am I? You know, and a lot of you, I know that Brian knows, but one of the theme song for my life is now by Big Daddy Weave, Redeemed. You know, because it's saying I don't have to be that old man inside of me. His days are long dead and gone. And for me, that's true. You know, because I wasn't living up who I was. I was living who I thought I was. I was living who I thought I should be instead of who I am. And I think the more that I came, the more I started establishing my character, and you know, and started actually living by some morals and values, and comfortable to be who I am instead of who people wanted me to be, or who I was portraying to be. It was just nice to kind of toss the mask and just be me.
You know, Jeff, you talk about Redeemed. And if y'all don't know that song, go to YouTube after the service, type in Big Daddy Weave and type in Redeemed. It's a beautiful song. The old used Dead and Gone. Shoot, T.I. could have been your song. Dead and Gone, that could have been your thing too. You can Google that one later too. But you know, you were telling me in prison you made 72 cents a day. And now you have a job, a salary. You have a wife and kids and a car that's able to get you to and from places. Like, talk about being redeemed. That's when you and I talk about that, I can see this pure and authentic joy, the kind I was talking about a little bit ago, that's written all over you, because it's almost like you know what a gift it is.
Well, also in that same Jeremiah passage, he tells you he's gonna help you prosper when he brings you out of that captivity. And I think as long as I keep following, he's gonna keep providing.
So what does
go ahead.
What does following God look like for Jeff today? What does your relationship with God look like? What does faith have to do with all this?
Well, it might sound kind of corny, but honestly, I think it's kind of like what Carrie Underwood says, Jesus take the wheel.
Sing it for us.
I need a little bit more water. But, you know, it's just so, I think it's just so easy for, like, as a man, I think we just have like this, sometimes we have like a fictitious pride that kind of carries us to where we think we don't need something or need no one. Where in reality, that's fictitious. You know, like for me, I know I need our God. I know I couldn't be anything or anyone without him. I definitely couldn't be who I am. I definitely couldn't be the good father, good husband, hard worker. Um, I mean, good friend. I mean, everything that I am, or everything that I've accomplished, or everything that I ever will, is just through him. I mean, if anybody earns it, it goes to him. And I'm just being blessed that he's providing me the path that he has. And but yeah, it's definitely a lot of responsibilities out here. I mean, you know, in prison, I mean, the only responsibilities you really had was go eat. um, you know what I mean? But out here, I mean, yeah, it's I honestly didn't know what it was to be a dad. I didn't, I guess I shouldn't. I guess from a personal standpoint, like I didn't know like how to be a dad. Um, you know, because I had taken so many years of my life away from civilization. Because in prison, you know, you don't really show affection. You don't really show, um, you know, those kind of emotions. It's everybody. You're wearing your little, we call it a chow hall face. You got your little mean mug. Everybody's trying to be cool and hard, and you know, so of doing that 24 and a half years and kind of, you know, being in it since I was 17, getting out at 42, it just kind of became a part of me to where, you know, I didn't even realize it. But, you know, it's like what you said, when I held my kid, like it was almost like a waterfall, like everything, like I was just a rock on the waterfall and everything was just flowing over me.
That's the description of joy. A
There
rock
it
on
is.
a waterfall. Yeah. Man, that's beautiful.
And it's, I mean, man, it's just, man, God is good. Yeah, God is good.
So, Jeff, one thing I've noticed, and your life certainly holds to this, but when we get in those joy slumps where joy is kind of distant, it's lacking in our lives, what I've noticed is, at least for my life, when that happens, when I reach out to other people, when I look for ways to serve other people and invest in other people, pour into other people, it has a way of creating joy. And I know your life is about serving other people. Um, and I know with your family and your kids and your job and that thing, but you also do a lot to give back in the community. And I think that's so important, because you could have this attitude of screw everyone else. They screwed me over. I'm done with society or community. But instead you pour back into them. So can we end with that? Tell us the ways you're giving back. And I do want to let you all know, if you have questions for Jeff, he's going to be sticking around. He'll engage your questions in the comments. So throw your questions or comments in the comments, and Jeff will be hanging out with you there in just a bit. But tell us the ways you're giving back to make the community, to make this world better.
Well, I think some of that too is by the people that God put in my life. My wife, that's just her whole character. Steve Malone, who was the victim's grandson, who's like one of my best friends, my brother, my dad, my mom, my brother, all my family. I think my grandma, all those people that have kind of helped be around me to help me kind of define character and define who I am, it makes it a whole lot easier for me to do the things that I do. So I work for a company where we sell steel buildings all over the country. And then when I'm not doing that, I could be up inside DOC speaking to prisoners that are getting ready to
What's DOC for those that don't know?
the Department of Corrections. You know, working with them, helping them, giving them hope for when they come out here. Because, I mean, I came out here, I'd never seen the internet, I'd never seen a cell phone. All those things happened after I was already locked up. You know, and then I work, for me, like my biggest passion is working with the at-risk youth. I got a program that with the Denver's probation's office that works with all their at-risk in Denver County. But though, to me, like, that's joy. Like when you can talk, you can share your story, you can share your experiences with those people that haven't made those mistakes yet, um, or done something that's going to take them, to prison or whatever. Because we all know, I mean, one of the craziest facts that I heard, that most murders, it was based off an 8-second decision.
Wow.
But yet it costs you the rest of your life. A lot of our kids, I feel like they're lost. They're looking for something, and I want to be that something. I want to be that person that they can call. I don't care what they're going through. Don't care what the situation is. I guarantee that I've gone through worse in prison. But I want to be that guy that's like a mirror for them and helps them see the people that I see, who I see in them. Because all of us need something like that. I know my grandma happened to be that person for me when I really needed her most. She saw in me what I was unable to see. So now I want to be that person for them. All of our kids. I hate when people, because there's so many good people in prison. I know a lot of people aren't going to like that statement. But there's to me, I've met a lot of really good people in there. Most of them were just addicts. Most of them just, they didn't know differently. They made poor decisions. However, now here 10, 15, 20 years down the line, I got one friend just got out after 31 years. And I stand by him. I'll say he's one of the best people I've ever met in my life. Mm-hmm. And I just hate seeing people where we find out who we are behind the walls. You know what I mean? Like, so for me, I want to keep reaching out and hitting these kids and help them find out who they are now, so they don't have to go through the experiences that we have, and they can start living a great life now.
Man, thank you, Jeff. And dude, I just have to, you said some people won't like that comment, but man, some of the most gentle, caring, loving men that I've met were those folks I work with in prison. And so thank you so much for your story. Thank you for all the ways you're giving back to people, especially our youth. And Jeff, we'll have you back again sometime, but more importantly, we're going to have your wife here. Jenny said yes in the comments, so she's going to come here and share some of her story. Thank you for that, Jenny. We're going to get Jeff back home soon so he can help put those babies to bed. Give him a bottle or something. Thanks again, Jeff. Love you, brother. Glad you're here. And I just want to, Drew, what are we moving on to? Remind me. Oh, we should definitely talk about that. I should look at the screen more often. We should talk about giving for just a moment. I want to remind you all here that the central image in this community is a wagon. We experience joy on the wagon. We experience pain on the wagon. We struggle together on the wagon. But when you fall off the wagon, and if you want the full story of the wagon, go to the website or go to the app. We do the wagon together. When you fall off the wagon of life, we try to be there for one another. We don't do shame in this community. We don't kick the wounded. We try never to do shame. We do love and compassion, forgiveness and grace, all the things that we've experienced. And at Free, what sits on top of our wagon is a donation box. And during this pandemic, during this non-in-person service, you all aren't here, so you don't see the donation box, but we still do, to keep this ministry going and alive, we still do rely on your donations. So I just want to remind you, there's a couple of different ways to give in this community. And the first way to give, both of these ways are easy and simple and safe and secure. The first way is to just simply text the number on your screen, text Be the Wagon. It'll send you a message back, then you click on the link, and it'll take you like 2 seconds. Any amount helps this ministry, and we are greatly appreciative. Or you can go to the website, freespiritualcommunity.com, and hit donate. And again, any amount is greatly appreciated. And by the way, you can do all this on the app. Y'all should download the app. It's free, and you can actually do recurring giving on the app. You can set it up for weekly or monthly or bi-weekly, bi-monthly, however you want to do it. You can do all that on the app. And by the way, did I say it's free? All right, y'all. I know we're a little over on time tonight, but that's okay. What else do you have going on? It's Saturday night. We're going to close with heartaches because we close things with lifting up the burdens that we are experiencing in this community because we don't carry those burdens alone. God joins with us. We lift these things in prayer, and God always hears the prayers of the people. And so we have a prayer team here led by Jason, and Jason gets us organized throughout the week. Everything, all your prayers that come in, we pray for you all throughout the week. We try to connect with you throughout the week. So I encourage you in these 3 minutes, lay down a burden. Let others help carry that burden. It's heavier when you're carrying it alone, and it doesn't have to be that heavy. Let the community in on this stuff so the community can be praying with you and for you so they can join with you and carry this heavy stuff together. So take 3 minutes and comment in the comment section your burdens, and we'll lift these things in prayer. All right, welcome back, everyone. Hey, Tammy's taking a little break, so we have my daughter, my 9-year-old daughter, Selah, with me. Do you have a? Can we go to Selah's camera? There's Selah. Selah waved, everyone. She's going to read some of your prayer requests, some of your heartaches. So thanks for being with me, baby. I love it when you join me, even though this is the first time you've ever joined me. I'm glad you're here. All right, y'all. Let's read some of these so we can experience these together. Cindy, thank you so much for mentioning this one. I was going to mention it if no one else did, but prayers for Andrew's family, Rebecca and his children. Grateful for his sharing it free. If you are not aware, Andrew Wozniak, a great friend of Free, he shared his story here a couple of times. He passed away this week on Thursday morning. I was actually able to see him in hospice. I mentioned this in my message on Wednesday afternoon, and he passed away Thursday morning. A meeting with Rebecca and some other family tomorrow. We'll begin talking about their service, but do hold Andrew's family in your prayers. Tough, tough times. So thank you for lifting that up, Cindy. Selah, you want to read the next one?
Mm-hmm.
Andrew's getting it on the screen. There you go.
Michelle. Please pray for my daughter. She is homeless.
All right. We're going to be praying for your daughter, Michelle. Thank you for lifting that up. Prayers for your daughter. Pamela Les says, I know it goes without saying. Yes, you say it each week, and I'm glad you do, because we're going to lift Sam up each week, is what I'm thinking you're going to say. I am going to say it anyway. Keep on praying for Sam. There are angels on earth who are trying to help. He needs to stay put. I know you had contact with them for the first time in a long time this week, Pamela. Prayers for Sam. Sam, if you're watching, we're praying for you, dude. Prayers.
Jane, please keep Emily and Liz in your prayers. Their mom and friend Karen passed in her sleep.
All right. Prayers for their mom. Prayers for Emily and Liz. Thank you for lifting that up, Jane. Alexa says, my best friend abruptly ended our friendship, and I'm really struggling with blame and shame. Yeah, these are hard situations, Alexis. Prayers for you. This community is praying for you. That is not an easy road.
Carrie, for the homeless.
Prayers for the homeless. We can do that, can't we, Selah?
Yes.
We're going to pray for the homeless this week. All right. Kat says, my quarantine has been extended to next year. My lungs are at 2869 capacity now, and it's affected my heart disease. Please pray. Pray for the sick, the suffering, and the lost to find God before it's too late. Prayers for you. I'm not exactly sure what you mean by your quarantine has been extended. I'm assuming for your work. And I know it's been hard on lots of people. So thank you for lifting that up, Kat. We're praying for you. You're not walking this journey alone. Do we have one more?
Nisi, my sister-in-law DX with COVID. Oh.
Diagnosed, yeah.
Hi, Nana.
Nisi is Tammy's mom. Hi, Nana. So prayers for her. Thank you for lifting her up. We are praying for all those who have been diagnosed and who are walking a very difficult road. And you all see the same statistics I see, the numbers of COVID rising. And we just live in this really uncertain time. So y'all be kind to one another. It's a good reminder to lift one another up, to be praying for one another. It's a time to say kind things to one another. Be gentle with each other. All right, y'all. I think we should close in praying the Serenity Prayer. So each week I invite you to find a quiet space. And by the way, if we didn't read your comment, I know we get lots of prayers each week, and they come in throughout the week too, and we try to track those. So just because it didn't get read doesn't mean we're not praying for you and you're going on our prayer list. But find a quiet space. Find a quiet space and maybe open your hands, because it's a sign of openness. And let's pray the Serenity Prayer together. Many of you know it, but if you don't know it, it is on the screen. It goes like this. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Amen. All right, y'all. Joy is everywhere. Joy is the response to the gift that you get to experience each and every day, each and every moment. If you're struggling, if you're in a joy slump, maybe it's time to go look for other people that you can serve. Don't make it about you, make it about others. All right, love y'all. We will see you soon. Peace out.